Hi, I'm Rod Olson, and I'm one of the founding farmers of YYC Growers and Distributors. YYC Growers is a farm-owned cooperative that is passionately addressing some of the big issues in the world today, especially as it relates to food. Now, we all know that the world is out of balance, that we're losing soil faster than we can build it, that our health is compromised, that we're seeing more and more division. And so we have a big job to do ahead of us. And in fact, I think we're stuck. I think we're stuck in a primitive part of our brain that is called the fight or flight. And if we're stuck, we can't actually dream a new world into being. We can't move things forward in a way that is going to heal some of the stuff that we're seeing. I think actually Einstein says it best. He says, the problems that exist in the world today cannot be solved by the thinking that created them. Yeah, nothing can be solved when we're in a state of fight or flight. And so we need to reset. This would be super easy if we were an animal. You see a deer, if it gets attacked and it gets into a place of safety, what you'll observe is that from the tip of their nose, they quiver, and it kind of goes all the way down their spine. And that's this reset. The deer, after that happens, then goes back to eating grass. But we've lost this as humans. In fact, they've studied this with babies. You take their head and you kind of let go of it. The baby will kind of do that same kind of quiver and reset, but we lose it at about 6 weeks old. And so how do we kind of reset that fight or flight response? And there's a lot of information about this nowadays, even apps where you can kind of calm down. I think it's even called Calm. We know that meditation and breathing and ceremony are super helpful, but some of these ancient spiritual traditions also let us know that our diet, what we eat, is super important. And so that's what we at YYC Growers are pretty passionate about. What we eat is a huge source of how we feel better. And the food at YYC Growers is something that we think is a way for us all to feel better. And so there's 4 areas that I think that sense of feeling better kind of comes from. One is nutrition, the other one is the local economy, the third is the environment, and then the final one is connection. And so if we think about nutrition, studies have shown that food is about 50% less nutritious than it was, like say when my grandma was growing back on the farm that I grew up on. Chefs, they're obsessed with getting the highest quality, first pick of the day kind of idea. And why do you think that is? Well, it's flavor, it's taste. And did you know that flavor and nutrition go hand in hand? If there's high nutrition, our bodies over time have recognized that that's the thing that we should eat. That's going to give us more vitality. And so Michelle, she's one of our customers and has been with us for probably 4 or 5 years. And when she became pregnant, she made a decision that she wanted her daughter to have only the highest quality food and nutrition. And so there's times now where Michelle will have to do a quick stop at the big box grocery store, and her daughter refuses to eat the product, and so this 4-year-old has developed a taste for that local highly nutritious food. She feels better, and so she, without knowing it, has learned that eating food from farms that treat the soil as a living system means that you're going to get more nutrition in the food that you eat. And this difference can be quite dramatic. So we follow the work of what's being called the Bionutrient Meter, and they use a wavelength frequency thing that is typically used to kind of study galaxies beyond our own. And they're calibrating vegetables. And so there's a situation where they have already seen in their calibrations that 1 carrot has the same amount of carotene as a crop of 200 carrots. And so you tell me, like, do you want to eat 1 carrot and feel the nutritional satisfaction of that gift, or do you want to have to eat 200 carrots of carrots that don't have a fraction of that nutrition? And so that's part of what we are driving into. Like we can feed the world, but one carrot at a time, as opposed to 200 bushels of carrots at a time, and the way that actually impacts us is that food is vibration. So the meter is actually checking the frequencies that come off of everything. Everything in the planet has a frequency, and so these frequencies can be increased by your growing practice. So if it's regeneratively grown, you're going to have a higher frequency. If you're eating that as soon as after it was harvested, it's going to be a higher frequency. And if you're eating it raw, you actually get a higher frequency from that as well. And so all of these things enter our body and they feel good. But it's not just nutrition. We also can feel good about our local economy. One of the things that I watched here in Calgary is that the city of Calgary put on a big shop local campaign. And why would they do that? Well, they recognized that shutting things down was a huge hit to our financial well-being as communities. And so shopping local, keeping that money in the local economy, circling around, that tide in a sense floats all boats. So we all benefit from that, rather than eating food that gets shipped in and the money also gets shipped out. And so that feels good. But there's more, and we love to talk about the environment. We know there's carbon in the atmosphere. There's oceans are warming up. We know the Earth is out of balance, and some of us actually feel it in our bodies. And there's this thing called eco-grief. And the UN a few years back actually recognized that we have 60 harvests left. That means 60 more years, and they just followed the graph of the decline in soil erosion over time and kind of mapped it out to 60 years. And so this has created a lot of innovation. And we have indoor growers that are part of our system as well, because they use a fraction of the water. So we're saving resources in that. They use unused warehouse space here in the local, in our city, and so that shortens the distribution miles for local food. And in fact, what YYC Growers in 2021, we launched into a soil data baseline project where we've studied the soil at all of our farms, because we want to be able to show year by year the improvement in our soil, the growth of that soil, the growth of that organic matter. And so we've already heard that a healthy soil creates nutritious and delicious food, but a soil with a good balance of microbes and fungal actually also holds on to water molecules, holds on to carbon atoms, and so that does the work of carbon sequestration. And in fact, one of our farmers, Casey, who runs Fishburn, talked on our Instagram about if we increase our soil organic matter by 1%, we will actually increase the water holding capacity of the earth by 20,000 gallons just by that 1% increase. And so that becomes drought tolerant, which becomes more and more important. And that also feels good, but there's more, and that is the connections that we can make. We've all come out of COVID, which is like a global experiment on disconnection and isolation. And I think we're just kind of coming out of it. A lot of awkwardness. I don't know about you, but maybe you also feel that awkwardness as you try and re-engage. And YYC Growers at its core we see ourselves as a connector. We are connecting those farms that are creating that ecosystem of health, along with the eaters that want the best for their children. So YYC Growers in the middle kind of brings that whole system together. And we know that food connects us all. We all eat 3 meals a day. And what if we could, save, make of the world a better place by simply eating the food. And this food that we eat, to be connected back to our local land base is really important. A lot of the plants that we have, a lot of us call them weeds. But in our Indigenous community, they actually call them medicines. And why do you think that is? Well, as I've been digging into it, I'm learning that a lot of these plants that are grown in this place actually know how to thrive and exist and have been existing for thousands of years in this local place. And so through their DNA and through what's called microRNAs, they communicate to us and give that kind of sense of connection and teach our bodies how to thrive in this place as well. And maybe the best way to understand that is we've all, if you move to a new location, lots of times they say, well, eat the local honey. Well, it's the same thing that's going on there. That local honey is giving you the antibodies to the allergens of that region. But these plants that we grow locally also teach our bodies how to thrive. And so when I sit down and I have a meal, the sense of connection for me is just so visceral. I can say, look at my potatoes and thank John. I can look at my ground beef and thank Casey. I can look at my tomatoes, thank Dawn, my mushrooms and thank Dirk. I can look at my microgreens that I sprinkle on top and thank Vanessa for her work. And these farmers care deeply about growing the best high quality food. In fact, I just got tingles all through my body because I know that they care. And we want to pass that on to the rest of our city. And if we can grow our work across the country, then we want to pass that connection across our country as well. And so those of us at YYC Growers think that simply by eating, we can make the world a better place. And so why don't you join us?